Hi, I'm Charlie Burns. I'm an artist living and working in New York City. We are in my studio, Burnstrong, and I want to show you a painting today that is done in the text image style. And I realized when I was trying to make a video to talk about this painting that I had to talk about some of my major influences. I took a long time to go to college. It took a break after high school, and I traveled around the world and the country for a couple of years. And then when I started to go back into college, I took it like it was a job. I met people along the way, and so people had always told me that I was bad at math and I was bad at science, but then I was in these classes that were math and science and I was acing them, and I just learned like a different way to study and a different way to move. When I was enrolled in one school, I met a cool teacher who was a writing professor. His name was Vandoren Wheeler. And he and I, we weren't quite friends, but we did get kind of become close. I would say he's definitely a major influence of mine. Not quite a mentor, but maybe like halfway a mentor. He's a man who's a poet. He lives in Portland, Oregon. And one of the cool things that he let me do was that he taught some 99 classes in college. And 99 classes are the experimental classes in college. I highly recommend taking a 99 class at some point if you ever go to college, or even if you can just take one and you're not totally enrolled. And he let me come to class without paying for it, which was so kind of him. I just had to take it seriously, and I did. The 99 class that Van Wheeler taught was text image, and I still think about the things he taught me in that class. He was the first person to introduce me to like Jenny Hoser, or people who are doing a lot of text image work just in the world. It made me realize that letters are shapes, which is an image. And it also plays in with something that I think about a lot, which I learned from Tom Weaver in another college class, which is about signs and symbols. And letters are signs, and they're symbols that we like sound out to make meaning. But it's still just a shape. So when I put a sign or a symbol, or even a letter, right, which is a sign and symbol, on my canvas, there's a lot going on. And then whatever I can write out with a symbol that people can sound out, there's another layer to what's going on, because then suddenly I'm turning a sign and a symbol into an audio, even if it's in someone's head. Like when I write something on the canvas, people can read it and they can hear it within themselves. And I'm not speaking, they're just reading what I'm writing. And I'm still making a visual image. It's firstly a visual image, but there are words within it. I use a lot of words. I like to layer words, and I like to kind of have it as a background. It kind of reminds me of also White Noise, right? The novel, not the sound. But there's a lot going on in modern world. And to not include words and to not include this everything that's going on, I feel like it's slightly limiting my process. So I made this painting over the course of several weeks. I built the canvas myself. I built the frame. I stretched it. I gessoed it. At the time I gessoed it, I didn't have enough gesso to fully cover it, so I just barely covered it, and I put oil paint on top of it. But the oil paint was so bad because it couldn't fully go over it that it wasn't spreading. It was one of my worst paintings. It was fantastically bad. And so then I got more gesso and I covered it. So that means that this painting will eventually, because there's oil, it's going to probably be ripped a little because the oil will start to eat through, because it's still one of the bottom layers. On top of that, I put acrylic paint. So this painting's not going to last, because you're not supposed to put oil down without protection and then put acrylic. The oil eventually eats through things. I'll show you on the back, there's some stains where the oil has already started to seep through. I like to make things that aren't going to last, that are going to be temporary, and that are going to probably rip or fade over time, because that's what I'm doing too. I'm ripping and fading over time. And I like this message. It hits home. When I've asked other artists what they should do, some men have said I should make the lines bolder or more clear or not as like curly, but I like the way it is. The black lines are done in India ink. It's permanent ink that's very hard to get off. I like also the heaviness of the gesso that I put down. I put just the lid of the gesso and spread it around, which kind of created some of this nice rich texture. When I put other paint on top of it, I could just wipe the paint and the gesso that was below it was really holding up. And so that's why it's created all this rich texture. And then there's a few different colors kind of melting and molding into it together. It reminds me of going to a kid. We used to have this kind of chain of fake Italian restaurants called Bravo we'd go to. And it kind of reminds me of that, like this fake oldness, right? So there's texture, there's text, there's color. It's large. Is it effective? I don't know. Do I like it? I don't know. Am I trying to say something? Yes. And so therefore I say it's artistic. It needed to be big because this is how it is when your lover doesn't love you anymore. It's kind of a big open sore. This is a poem. This is a painting. This is a moment in my life. This is something that's going to rip apart and fade. This painting speaks to me about loss. I don't like to laud a lot of men, but I will say that Vandoren Wheeler and Tom Weaver were two men who were respectful of me, for the most part, and who taught me a lot, and I'm grateful for their mentorship. I also think that they were my mentors because there were no women that were able to be my mentors. So I would have preferred it if there would have been more queer people or female people on staff who could have done the same thing that these people did. It's just that in my college career, I mostly had to interact with male professors because they're just still, last time I went, there were just still way more male professors than there were female professors. So thank you for treating this little queer kindly. But also, I think it should be more regular that there are queer people and women just in positions of power and leading.